Radio interviews. The next popular format is the radio interview. A radio interview is primarily a format which involves an exchange between a journalist or a presenter and a source of information. It is a complete goal focused strategy in a radio interview. The important thing is to encourage the interviewee to give valid inputs over the questions asked. So we can say radio interviews are meant to provide interesting details about a public personality to the audiences which they are unaware of. Radio interviews also used as a format for complementing public opinion formation if the interview is political in nature or for providing entertainment based information. This is done to make them feel better connected with the popular personalities. The aim of an interview is to provide, in the interviewee's own words, facts, reason, or opinion on a particular topic. An interview is not a confrontation, as the listener can quickly sense hostility. An interviewer cannot be aggressive in terms of conducting interview through radio, and of course it is the responsibility of the interviewer to maintain the balance. So we are going to discuss here the types of radio interviews. Explanation interview. This is very important form of interview, which is a form of interview which is done to get information from the interviewee about his or her expert subject or about something he or she is well positioned to talk about. Another format is portrait interview. It is done to bring out the personality of the interviewee on the air. One form is witness interview. It is done when an event has to be explained through the eyes of witness. One form is declaration interview. It is a form of interview where the interviewee is asked questions regarding any newsworthy event of which he or she has been a part of. And the interviewee is mostly a non-personality in this format. So, some of the interviews we have discussed, and now we are going to discuss Vox Pop. Vox Pop interviews is an informal form of the interview which is conducted in a public place, and random people are asked to question a series of questions so as to understand the general view of public. Vox Pop is the most commonly occurring form of interviews, as does not require too much preparation in comparison with the other types of interview we have discussed here in this program. So learner, for example, the interview of Mr. Amin Sayani, the iconic voice of All India Radio, is a classic example of radio interview which is more of a portrait interview. The interview can be heard here on this link.
अनु भाई, ये क्या गजब कर रहे हैं आप? कर रहे हैं आप? अरे नहीं, अब तो बहुत ज़रूरी बात कहनी है बहनों और भाइयों से. बहनों और भाइयों, देखिए अभी जो आपने गाना सुना ना, बातों बातों में मुलाकातों में, अरे वाह साहब, क्या गजब का गाना है. और यही गाना आज गीतमाला की संगीत सीढ़ी की चोटी पर था. जी हाँ,
रेडियो वॉक्स पॉप. Vox Populi is called as the voice of the people. The format of Vox Pop is highly popular and a commonly occurring format of radio programs. It is conducted in an informal manner and generally involves asking people in a random manner about current trends or events which are public interest. We can say here that Vox Pop is a radio format which can be either run as an independent show or can fit into any other radio programs in order to cover the extra airtime left unutilized. So, Vox Pop is a format which helps in shaping the presenting the public opinion about any social matter or event related to the society. The broadcasters make use of a portable recorder to capture the views and opinions of the general public. The opinion, however, can be of any degree as long as there is no profanity involved in the opinions shared by the general public. The presentation of people's voice should be filtered from any other form of the biases and doctored informations. The key to a good radio-based vox pop is spontaneity, variety, insight, and the humor. The most challenging task regarding radio-based vox pop is the fact it has to be devoid of noise, especially when the recording is happening in open space. Since the recording is taking place outside the radio station, it is susceptible to contain noise in the form of ambient disturbance such as public's yelling of excitement and etc. As a result, it is important that the radio anchor, after a recording of vox pop, gets the clip up possessed so to ensure that the rate of noise is kept at a minimum and the information that is to be told as does not get compromised. It is done to ensure that listeners interested remain intact over the radio program. For instance, Radio City does a lot of vox pop for entertainment purposes on the different themes like lifestyle, celebrities, entertainment, and etc. A sample of the Radio City vox pop can be heard here.
कि जब आप अपने पेरेंट्स को सोशल मीडिया पे सिखाते हैं, व्हाट्सएप सिखाते हैं, फेसबुक सिखाते हैं, तो आप क्या क्या फनी चीजें एक्सपीरियंस करते हैं, हमसे शेयर करिए।
आपका एक्सपीरियंस क्या है? जानते हैं बरेली वालों का एक्सपीरियंस क्या है? लेट्स सी।
अरे उनके फोन के तो बहुत ही झाड़ है। फोन आता तो कहते हैं कि ओके कैसे होगा।
पापा जी को सिखाया था ना, तो वो कॉल जी थी उनसे डिस्कनेक्ट हो गई थी। पता नहीं कहाँ से कहाँ पहुँच जाता है, कुछ पता ही नहीं चलता। फिर बोलते हैं वही लगाओ दोबारा से, फिर वो मिल ही नहीं पाता है।
Radio discussions. The radio discussion is a very interesting format for the liking of the audiences. The format is more of a radio-based debate between two or more individuals. The number of participants for the radio discussions are generally kept around 3 to 4. Since radio is a blind medium and devoid the visual information, it becomes too difficult to have too many people for the discussions. It becomes a challenging process for a listener to identify the exactly speaking at the point of time. The topic for the discussion is generally a matter of genuine public interest. The primary aim is for the listener to hear the argument and the counter argument made in a conversation formed by the people who are holding those views with the conviction. The format for a radio program conversation can be both formal and informal in nature, by generally depends upon the themes on which the discussion is taking place. In case if there is a need for too many participants, then a radio anchor incorporates the use of vox pop. The most simplest setup for a radio discussion is where there are two speakers representing opposing views together with an impartial mediator. It is, however, preferably that there is a mix of male and female voices. This is done to avoid the point of saturation amongst the listeners. Here, we can say that a well-known radio personality introduces one of the more guests and talk with them. It may incorrectly be described as an interview, but since personalities have views of their own, the result is likely to be a discussion. The chairman and one at a time formalize satisfactory approaches to a discussion. It can be seen particularly with the more lightweight entertainment, the non-current affairs as subjects. It works less well in controversial, political, current affair fields, since it is more difficult for the chairman to remain neutral as part of the discussion. In any case, the dangers for the broadcasters is in order to draw out the guest contributor, it is necessarily, we can say here, that always to act the opposition, and therefore it is become identified as anti everything. In such cases, the more acceptable format is that of the interview to ensure formal approach and reduction of biasness and noises. An important aspect to note here is that it is rarely desirable for the chairman to attempt a summing up. If the discussion has gone well, the listener will already have recognized the main points being made in the arguments. If a summary is required, it is often being better to invite each other speaker to have a last word. Alternatively, the chairman may put a key question to the group which points the subject forwarded to the next step. Finally, what do you think should happen now? It should be time to allow for the significant answering in discussion at the stage of conclusion. Many good programs are spoiled by an untidy ending. The chairman should avoid giving the impression that the program simply ran out of time. Further, the program should cover the material which is intended in the time it was allowed. Post the completion of the program, the speaker should be warmly thanked and allowed to talk formally if they wish. The provision of some refreshment or hospitality is often too appropriate. It is not the broadcaster's job to create confrontation and dissent where none exists, but genuinely differences of opinion on matters of public interest offer absorbing the broadcasting, since the listener may feel a personal involvement in the argument expressed and in their outcome. The discussion program is a contribution of the wider extra-public debate and may be regarded as a part of broadcasters' positive role towards public opinion formation and many more. So, for example, we can quote here that All India Radio has a radio show of Let's Connect, a women's-based program which deals with a different social topic in the form of radio discussions. So, we can say the most recent discussion it has broadcasted is on the recent epidemic of coronavirus, that is COVID-19. The radio discussions can be heard here.
और आज हम इस कार्यक्रम में जिस बारे में बात कर रहे हैं वो है नोवल कोरोना वायरस कोविड-19 के बारे में जागरूकता। तो जागरूकता का ये संदेश लेकर हमारे साथ अभी स्टूडियो में मौजूद हैं हैबिटेंट वर्ल्ड फाउंडेशन के संस्थापक और प्रिंसिपल साइंटिस्ट प्रज्ञा प्रांजलि। मैं हूं नईम अख्तर और अपने सभी लेट्स कनेक्ट के श्रोताओं की तरफ से प्रज्ञा प्रांजलि जी आपका स्वागत करते हैं।
धन्यवाद नईम जी।